All right, just tooling around in Assassin's Creed Origins at 4K 60 FPS, playing with a 1080 Ti, and there goes a nice little sunrise. 4K 60 FPS sunrise. Let's check this out. A little bit of a stutter when I pan the camera just now. A little bit. 4K 60 FPS is still not the easiest thing in the world for a computer to do, especially with modern titles. I say that in 2017, in case somebody's watching this 4 years from now when 4K 60 FPS is very easy to do. A little bit of a stutter, went down to 54, 55 frames per second. This bird seems to be able to go a fair distance away from you. I can go even further than this. I'm not sure what the actual limit is going to be. I've never actually flown far enough away to find out. Actually, I wonder if I can go up here. Up to that cliff top. You know what they need to do? They need to let you push in the right thumbstick and let you see behind yourself while you're flying. That's pretty standard in a lot of games. Even a game like Just Cause 3, which is, kind of one of those games that does its own thing. But Just Cause 3, Grand Theft Auto 5. Can I get up here? I'm not sure. It does not seem as if I'm flying any higher. Textures are fairly decent. And the clouds look good. Depth of field blur right there looks pretty decent. Ooh, am I hitting a wall? Am I hitting an invisible wall? Oh, wait a minute. Am I going up now? Huh. That was a little janky. Not entirely sure what was happening when I tried to fly. Oh, hey. When I tried, where was that? It was that way. When I tried to fly straight up, I could not do that. So I don't know if running into the wall did it or if it was just because I was in boost mode. Not entirely sure. Come on. Ooh, that was janky. He was holding on to thin air, if you noticed that. Come on, down. Get down. Here, let's look at the ground real quick. So, one thing that I think Ubisoft has been pretty good at in some of their more recent AAA titles is tessellation. So they do a good job of making the rocks look like a nice little pile of stones. I mean, it's not the most beautiful thing you've ever seen in your life, but it is pretty decent. They do a good job of tessellation. The Witcher 3 does a good job of it too. I'm a big fan of tessellation. All right, where's my torch? I wanted to go right back outside. I found this on accident just now. The brightness is weird in here. There we go. That's more normal. What am I interacting with?
I have missed you.
Is there really anything in here? I'm not trying to trigger a side quest. I don't really want to have to do that. Interesting. And maybe I triggered a side quest. Oh, it's probably going to be some cutscene to his childhood. I can't hear the game right now. I have the game silenced so that the microphone doesn't pick it up. All right, let's go back outside. Maybe we'll remember to come back in this cave later. I don't know. Being that this is an open world game, sometimes you stumble upon something, and if you don't deal with it right then and there, you won't stumble upon it again. Maybe you'll never see it again. Who knows? So as you can see, pretty stable 4K 60 FPS as it goes down to 59 as I say that. It does stutter and go into the low to mid 50s, like 54 FPS every now and then. And maybe I'll show you guys the settings in this video. I'm not sure yet. I'm still working out what the best settings are for 4K 60 FPS. We're using a 1080 Ti. I think it just saw go down to 55 FPS. All right, so let's uncap the frame rate. Because we do have Vsync on. All right, so turned it off. The FPS limit was off in case you didn't notice. 61, 64, 67. I was about to say, at first it was at 59, 60. Yeah, I did a pretty good job tuning it, considering that it's roughly 60 even with Vsync off. Oh, restricted area. Yeah, we're using a 1080 Ti. It's overclocked to, I'm not sure because Afterburner's not working with the game right now. It works sometimes, sometimes it does not. It's really weird. Sometimes the game won't even launch when Afterburner's on, and you can restart the computer. Game still won't launch, so you turn Afterburner off. But sometimes it will launch with Afterburner on. Tell you what, I'll give you a sneak peek at the settings. I'm going to cap it because I don't know if you guys are going to see the screen tearing in the recording, but I'm seeing a ton of screen tearing right now. When I use shadow play, sometimes the screen tearing doesn't show up. Probably because it's recording the raw video, if you will. And I'm seeing what's on the screen. When I use an Elgato, the screen tearing is in the recording, but you might not even see the screen tearing. All right. So here's a sneak peek at the graphics. I'll do a video explaining why I've chosen these graphics in the future, but this is just kind of a sneak peek. So we're pretty close to maxed out. If you'll notice, most of these notches are maxed out or they're very close to it, which is decent. For 4K 60 FPS, it's decent. Notice how it's a pretty, like I said, it's a pretty solid 60 FPS. It does dip and stutter in some spots, but honestly, it's not unspeakably bad by any means. And here's the thing. There's been a lot of games the last year that have come out that even a 1080 Ti doesn't do that great at when it comes to 4K 60 FPS, unfortunately. So this is kind of a win so far. So I congratulated the game, or at least made flattering comments about it, saying that the tessellation was okay earlier. But if you look up there, that's muddy. The texture details have not popped in yet. And it's weird because there's all kinds of tessellation here. That looks great. The shadows and tessellation here looks great. Although that is a little bit off. That's a little bit off, but that looks good. It's sort of a mixed bag. And then that looks like the level of detail, the shadows and tessellation have not loaded right there. So the reality is, if you're going to nitpick, there are things to nitpick about. Like, see right there, it looks like the assets have not streamed in yet. It looks like low resolution textures right there. Let's get closer to that thing right there. Let's get closer. And there we go. See the level of detail loaded in. So let's go backwards. And now it loaded out. Meanwhile, over here, the level of detail was there the whole time. The level of detail was there the whole time. The level of detail was there the whole time. So back up more. You still got level of detail on these three things, but you don't on that. So there are going to be little nitpicky things like that, unfortunately, so far. All right, look at how just excellent that camel's head looks with these settings. Oh, that was a nice animation, the way he just turned around. All right. So I'm just going to go up here real quick and try to synchronize. And as you can see, yeah, that level of detail isn't popped in. Here's the thing. Beauty is in the eye of the beholder, and it's very subjective, and everyone has different opinions. And I've noticed this weird thing where no matter what I say, some people will agree and some people will not agree. So I went through, oh wow, I can't go that way. That's ridiculous. All right. I'm trying to get up there. And I would have thought going this way would be how to do it. Anyway, with all that said, I did show that, there are ways to nitpick. Oh, maybe I have to progress in the game before I can go over there. Yeah, I probably have to do some missions or whatever, and then I can go over there. So, because I am at the beginning of the game. If you notice, I'm at level 2. So I probably have to do some real missions. As you can see, the water level of detail hasn't properly popped in. So what I was going to say is if I were to say that, in my opinion, the level of detail pop in is wonky, I'm sure some people would be like, no, it's not. It's just fine. And then if I said that I think it's just fine, then I'm pretty sure some people would be like, no, it's terrible. So I'm going to be brave and share my opinion anyway. I think it's okay. I think it's overall acceptable. It's an open world game. Your attention is probably going to be on a lot of random various things while you play the game. Sometimes you're going to notice the level of detail be wonky, and sometimes you're not. So personally, I think it's okay. I don't think it's horrible. I think it could be better. It's okay. It's almost good in some regards. If you remember, when we looked, we had 3 pillars that had their level of detail popped in, and then 1 that did not. And the ones that had it popped in, they looked fine. They looked pretty good. I'm going over to this water. I love separation so much. Like, y'all don't even know. And what I call separation is that tree pops, that tree pops, that tree pops. Everything back there pops. Everything's nice and separated. There have been many times when gaming where you'd be playing a game and everything doesn't pop and separate, and it all kind of muddies together. And I like it when there is contrast and a strong image and everything separates really well. I love that. So here we go, walking into this. That's pretty decent level of detail in this wicker boat. Can I do this? Whew. All right, the water looks weird. I think maybe it looks weird because I am playing on Windows 10. I'm playing on a 4K HDR television. And what I did is I'm using 4222 for color instead of RGB. And it seems to be a mixed bag. For some reason, console games do HDR better. And this isn't the world's greatest TV. It's an 8-bit panel. It's not a good implementation of HDR in the first place. But on consoles, games look really good when I try to go for the HDR thing. When playing PC games, it can be a mixed bag. So I thought the game looked fine this whole time that I've been talking, but then when I looked at the water looked, see, it's not blue, it's white on my screen. It's milky. Now maybe it's supposed to be milky. Maybe it has nothing to do with any settings that I've chosen. Look at how sharp all of this is and how well everything separates. Little tufts of grass. Then you come through here and you got these smoke effects. The smoke and the fog are really good in the game. I'm actually really, really impressed with this 4K 60 FPS. Anyway, like I was saying, maybe that water is supposed to be milky. I'm not really sure. I'm going to play on different monitors. I'm playing on the 4K TV here, but I also have a pretty good 1080p 144 hertz monitor and a 1440p 144 hertz monitor. I've also got a 1080p non-HDR TV. So I will be doing lots of experimenting before I give my final verdict on how all this looks and performs and everything. Like I said, this is just, I wanted to show you guys something. And again, remember, and I'm trying to be on the level with you. There could be parts of this map that play worse or look worse. You never know, especially with these open world games. Rise of the Tomb Raider, which is quasi open world, that game plays perfectly for the first hour or two that you play it. And then you get to this big open area and you start having some performance problems. So you turn your went down to 54. So you turn your settings down and it plays better. It goes back to 60 frames per second. You think everything's fine. And then you get even further to this area called the Geothermal Valley, and then it just falls apart. And it kind of doesn't matter what you do, the game stutters. And if I had to guess, there's something about that area. I think geometry is the issue. That's a conversation for a whole other day, I suppose. But the point being is you can play a game for hours and have a perfect frame rate and then get to an area later in the game and have a bad frame rate. So this is the open area, but I want to show you that it at least does this well. I mean, this is great. And everything on this screen is properly separated. I love it. And I stopped right here because there's a ton of NPCs. I mean, if I counted them all, I'd have to guess there's a few dozen at least. And then you have the people riding by, and then even simple things like if you look at that tower over there, the level of detail is in it. Like if you run up on that tower, it's probably, it just stuttered. Oh, there's a bad guy. Doing bad guy things. All right. See, that's the tower I pointed at. Look at that lighting. And see, most of that level of detail was popped in even when we were far away. And then even that building over there, a lot of level of detail is popped in on it. You can see the tessellation in the bricks. You can see the flowers and the vines. You can see, this is the tessellation I'm talking about. I have my crosshair on it. If you're watching this like on a smartphone, you might not be able to see all this. I'm looking at a 40-inch screen and I'm as far away from it as someone would be a computer monitor. So I'm basically using a 40-inch computer monitor. Now, that's important because I've been doing a lot of 4K videos. And what I've noticed is if you're looking at a phone, you might not see the little level of details that I'm talking about. And that's another thing. Like people will watch a video on one device and not realize it may look different on another device. If you have a phone, a tablet, a TV, and a computer monitor, you're going to notice different things watching the same video on all those different devices. So when I said, like, I saw the tessellation in the bricks from where I was, that's on a 40-inch screen. On a phone, that might not be as noticeable. I feel a little bit of, stuttered. I feel some stuttering, but seriously, it's not micro stutter. It's not constant stuttering. It's just sometimes, because if you saw those settings earlier, I mean, look at this. This level of detail is insane right here. All right. So you got that building and it's got weathering on it, right? It's like mostly white. And then some of it is kind of browned or blacked out. So you've got that. And then you've got all these different kinds of flowers and bushes, different kinds of trees. You got the tree bark. You have the tessellation and the shadows on the wall there. Everything is incredibly smooth for the most part. But yeah, there is a little bit of stuttering every now and then. Look how smoothly that bird flies. You see that? That's probably somebody's goat. Ooh, my bird took out that bird. My bird did that. My bird bad. Your bird's not. All right. jump over the wall. All these NPCs, notice that they're, well, some of them were doing kind of unique animations. So yeah, so far the game is pretty good, but again, it may not be good later. It may get horrible later. It may get horrible very soon. I don't know. And that's going to be the thing. Anybody that's, look, I'm recording this on the night the game came out. Okay? It's well, it's overnight now. Now it's the morning. It's October 27th right now. I started playing October 26th because the game became available for me on the night of October 26th. And that's important because if you watch videos that are posted within the first few days of this coming out and people are talking about how well the game plays, chances are they're not that far into the game unless they got a review copy a week early or something. So keep that in mind. I did feel a stutter a couple seconds ago. There will be stuttering. It's not going to be absolutely perfect, but it's not annoying by any means. It's very tolerable. I wonder if I can climb this big old wall. I can climb that big old wall. I don't think I should be able to walk on this. That looks too rickety to support me, if we're honest. All right, you can see it looks like some of the level of detail on that sand hasn't popped in. Let's run over there and see if I'm right. Like I'm saying, if you want to be picky, yes, there are going to be some things to be picky about. However, you have to judge video games on a scale relative to other games. And right now, it's not as if there's other games that do this more perfectly. Let me say this real quick and I'll wrap the video up. There are some games that do better with level of detail pop in, but they also don't show you this much stuff on the screen at the same time. I've noticed that about some games, that there are some games that play perfectly, and so all their level of detail pops in properly, and the textures look good, and the lighting looks good, and the frame rate is good. But if you notice, your character cannot move very fast. So that's like a trick. Okay. Like they don't let your character move very quickly. And as a result, the game doesn't have to load in as much of the environment very quickly. It has more time to load the environment in than a game that lets you move quickly. And the game may not let you see a lot of things on the screen at once. Arkham Knight is a really good example. Now, Arkham Knight plays horribly for me, even with a 1080 Ti. It'll be playing at more than 100 frames per second at 1440p. And then all of a sudden plummet down to 30 frames per second in multiple spots. The game still plays horribly for me. However, Arkham Knight lets you see a lot of the map at once. And there is a fairly decent amount of detail if you really think about it, with all the little windows and the street lights and the cars driving down below, and like there's a fair amount of stuff on the screen and it's moving really quickly. The problem is they didn't have a big enough team to work on that game. As you guys may know, that game famously had bad development, especially for the PC port. Rocksteady didn't even do the PC port. They what's the word? They offshored it. They outsourced it to another company. And allegedly, and if you remember, we were here earlier. If you remember, the game was delayed multiple times, and supposedly Rocksteady barely got the game working on the consoles. It was just ambitious, I guess, and maybe there were problems with the engine. I have no idea what all of the problems were. But the point being is, when you have games that show a lot of stuff on the screen at the same time and let you move fairly quickly, then yeah, you're going to see more issues. All right, what can we do here? I'm going to need a camel for this. Hello, get on there. All right, come on. I got on the camel because I wasn't sure how easy it was going to be to attack these guys on foot. Yeah, the combat, I'll have more to say on that when I get further into the game. I'm only at level 3 now. I was at level 2 at the start of the video. Yeah, 54 frames per second and some stuttering. Sorry if I'm making anybody dizzy. It's kind of a cluster to do the fighting. Hello? What? Where am I? Where am I? Am I on the ground getting stabbed? Can I get up? What has happened? There we go. I was stuck under that horse. Alright, how do you fight? I already forget how to fight. Ooh, I may die. I think they outlevel me too. Or at least one of them. Man, I am getting destroyed. Oh, how do you do the shield break? I changed the settings, and I think I'm dying. Hey, hey. Goodbye. Although if you watched ACG's review, he said they will chase you forever, like across the map. So, I wonder, yeah, I am getting chased. And there's some stuttering, went down to 54 frames per second. And that seems to be where it drops. Let's turn Vsync off. Oh, variable. There's an adaptive Vsync. And at 1440p, it worked pretty well with the 1080 Ti. There were some issues. It wasn't perfect. It was a little bit wavy. You would pan the screen and it would wave a little bit. Not quite a screen tear, like this screen bubble. Anyway, at 1440p, it was fairly decent. At 4K, though, it did the screen bubble thing way too much. I think I already synchronized on this one. I'm actually trying to see if the guys are still following me. And no, I don't think they are. All right. So far, I'm pretty cool with the game. I like it. From a performance standpoint and how good it looks and things like that. I like it. We'll see how it does over time. And we'll see if these are the best settings. I think they're going to be. This is an overclocked 1080 Ti, by the way. It's if I didn't say this earlier, it's around 1960 or 1980 megahertz, more or less. It fluctuates. I've seen it go as low as 1900. I've seen it go as high as 2000, and I think it broke 2000 a couple times. But because that's what I felt quite a bit of stuttering there a couple times. That's what happens with these not Maxwell, but these Pascal cards. Nearby activity, destroy the statue. Really? That's just going to make these guys attack me if I do that. Hello, fellow Egyptians, or Romans, or whoever you are. I haven't even paid enough attention to the story to know who the guards are. Possibly Romans? Not sure. Yeah, it felt a stutter. But overall, pretty decent. All right, so thanks for watching, guys. Hopefully this video has been interesting for you. It's given you a glimpse of how the game could look, could perform. And especially if you're watching this video in the future, when stronger graphics cards or newer graphics cards have come out, then the game should play really well for you. Should look really good. There might still be the level of detail pop-in issues that I've shown you. That might still happen, but overall, pretty respectable, pretty good, pretty enjoyable so far. All right, thanks for watching, guys. Have yourselves a good one. This has been AI Gaming 1776, And please like, subscribe, and all that jazz, and have yourselves an excellent day.